guys, this is Jiffy with Soapboxing Podcast, and I am here today with the one and the only. Who are
Aaron
you?
Navarro, Cutman here at Main Street Boxing Gym.
And what are you most known for?
I would guess these days, although I still train quite a few people, I know to be Cutman around. People see me at a lot of shows. I'm all over the place. Most weekends when I'm lucky, working cuts somewhere for one of these great fighters that we all get to deal with.
I know I've been a few places with you, and I'd say that you're pretty legendary.
I don't know about that term. I definitely know a lot of people who have been around a long time. This is going on my probably about 25th year doing this. I worked under my coach Walt Haley for around 96, 97 when I started with him. Got really serious about it around 99. So definitely been in the game a long time. I am blessed to work with a lot of really good fighters and good managers, good promoters that I get a lot of work from. So I'm definitely out there in the in the scene, and when there's a show, chances are I could be on there working.
Who are some of the people that you work with?
Currently, there's too probably many to name, but I obviously worked with Regis Prograis, world champion, just fought this past weekend, defended his title. O'Shaquie Foster, he's a current WBC 130-pound champion. Miguel Flores has fought for the world title, an excellent fireman. I've been with since he was a little kid, maybe eight years old when him and I started. Now I think he turns 31 here in a couple of weeks, so we've had a long time at it. Jenny Fuchs just fought again on this past weekend in New Orleans in the first 8-round fight. She was an Olympian in Tokyo, great fight. I mean, just loads of all the great fighters we have here at Main Street. Lots of kids all over. Sammy Castaneda's another kid, good 140-pound prospect kid that I just worked with in Corpus a couple of weeks ago. He's an up-and-coming kid from down in the valley here in Texas. And I could go on and on. There's just tons of great fighters that I'm lucky to work with.
What do you say your passion is in boxing? What's your favorite role?
I love the game, period. I always have since I was a kid, and it sounds a little cliche sometimes, or you hear people say this, but I'm truly one of those guys that gets to do what he loves to do every day and be involved with, like I said, great trainers, great fighters, and just be part of the game that I love so much. So I never have to get asked to come to work. I can't wait to get out of bed every day and come to work. I can't wait to get on the plane and go to the fight, be in the gym. Because whatever my role is on that particular day, and I do switch hats. There's guys that I'm the head trainer on. There's guys that I'm the co-trainer on. There's guys that I'm just a cut man. And there's some shows where I switch hats, several different times on one card. If we have 5, 6, 7 people that I'm working with, I can change those hats several times just in one show.
Do you have a least favorite part in boxing?
Putting together the ring and taking it apart. Like I would say, have all the jobs, man, that I've done over all the years. I've probably done at least once or twice about every job that there is to do in boxing, from picking up guys at the airport and doing medicals to making fights, training guys, all the million different things. And all the boxing guys, the real boxing guys, don't even know what I'm talking about. At some point in this game, if you're a real boxing guy, you've done everything probably more than one time. I've even had a time when I took guys down to Laredo to fight, and I had one of our guys' opponents with us. He was a real nice kid, but he had to ride down with us because he flew from here. And then we came back with him, after our guy beat him, and he was a nice kid. But so I've done a little bit of everything, but I would have to say, over the years, taking apart that ring and putting it back together is never a fun job.
So you spoke about recently, this past weekend, you had some fights, Regis Prograis and Jenny Fuchs. What were your roles in their corners, and how'd everything go? Okay,
well, my role with those two fighters, both of them, because I'm involved, I work cuts for both of those fighters, but I also co-train, both of them, especially Regis do, his body shield work and other things like that, along with the gym. Bobby's his head guy, but I have a training role in that, and the same thing with Jenny. I've been involved actually with Jenny almost since the beginning of her amateur career. As soon as she came back she started boxing when she was at LSU. She was a track athlete, got involved in boxing there, and she's one of these ones that had a late start. got started in their 20s. But actually, the guy here that started out, Roy Alvarado, is a friend of mine. Him and I started her, and then Roy stopped training people. She went to Derwin Richards, a very experienced trainer here from Houston. And so Dee and I co-train her, and then I wrap her hands, work cuts for her. So I heavily involved in both fighters.
What was the experience like this past weekend to work in both of their corners?
It's great. Listen, both kids got the win, which is always the number one thing in this game. It's always a fun time on the big shows like that, big arenas, big crowds. I mean, when the main event's a homecoming world title defense for a fighter, that's always a exciting environment for everybody. That's where everybody wants to be at in this game. We want to be on those type of cards. All fighters want to be there one day. All trainers want to be there one day. We're lucky enough to be there on a regular basis, and that's the level of this that everybody wants to be at all the time.
What are some of the things that you remember saying to Regis this past weekend, and then to Jenny?
With Jenny, actually, we knew that her opponent was very tough, very experienced fighter. She was exactly, in a lot of ways, exactly what we expected her to be. She's been there with a lot of real girls, and she's beat some of them, and we just knew we expected a tough, scrappy fight. It was Jenny's first 8-round fight, and so, I would have went very similar to what I expected. I let Dee do a lot of the corner in this one. She got a pretty good cut in the second round. And so, I spent, the majority of my time making sure that cut stayed under control and wasn't an issue in the fight, which it wasn't, and, allowed her to win her first 8-round fight. And so, but we knew from the beginning she needed to use her jab, use her feet well, use her angles. These girls are a lot shorter than her, but real tough, experienced, scrappy girls. So I thought she followed the game plan well, and then she got in there and got inside and fought when she needed to as well. So it was a good for her. For Reed, the same thing. We keep him in the fight. Look, whether anybody knows it or not, all fighters, especially they're making their first title defense at home, main event at home, guys want to knock guys out. That's the, whether they even realize it or not, they do. You got 10,000 people there cheering you on. Reed just knocked him down hard in the third round. I think from that point on, that kid went into what I would call survival mode. Mm-hmm. He was more or less, for the most part, running around the ring the majority of the rest of the fight. And I think his goal became, after he got dropped that hard, to finish the fight. What we were telling Regis, hey, you need to cut the ring off and just really maintain his composure and not. We know he wanted the knockout, but sometimes you can look for the knockout a little too much. And I think it allowed that kid to be able to utilize that survival mode a little bit.
If you could give any advice to anybody who wants to be in the boxing world, whether they want to be a trainer, a boxer, a cut man, they want to put the equipment together, take it apart, what kind of advice would you give?
It's a long game, 100% long game. If you're coming into it as a fighter, everything you're going to put in hella work, and so much stuff's going to go wrong, and you're going to give to boxing way before it ever decides to give back to you. So if you're not the type of person who can deal with setbacks, letdown, things that get hard like that, don't start something that you're not planning on finishing. I would really recommend the same thing to trainers and cutmen too, right? For the trainer to come out and say, listen, find a respectable, knowledgeable coach that has a good amount of time in and a good program. Pay your dues and work under that guy before you go out on your own. I think one of the problems that I see, listen, my coach had his first fight in 1949, and he started training guys in 1965. So when I started training under him, in the 90s, what better guy am I going to learn from than that? And then I had a lot of other good OGs around us that lace us up on things, but I would just say, take your time and learn it right, and put in your time, and just don't get in a hurry. Everything in boxing is, if it's going to come to you, like I said, it's an investment. It's like any investment. Investment zone. You don't get in the stock market today and be a millionaire tomorrow, right? It's a long game, and so I feel the same for fighters and trainers, cutmen, promoters, managers, however you want to do this. You have to be realistic with your goals coming in. And so it's easy to, listen, just like this card we're just on Saturday, you go to a big card like that in a big arena. It's a very electrifying, like intoxicating environment. You've been to big fight. So anybody that's been to a really big fight, man, that environment, it'll draw you into it. And you see these great fighters fighting on these cards and even on TV or in person, and you want to, man, I need to have some of that. But what you don't realize is most of these guys, by the time you've seen them on TV, they got 10, 15, 20 years in the game by that point. And so that's the part that you can't have the result without the process. That's would be my advice to. So I would say, hey, come in, find somebody that you respect and that's knowledgeable and that you can learn under, and don't get in a hurry so you don't get kicked out of there. And then pay your dues. And like I said, have short-term goals and then and long-term goals. But I would just say that remember that everything in this game, if it comes to you, is going to come at a long pace and not a short.
What are your ultimate goals in boxing? What stamp do you want to put in boxing?
I want to keep doing, what I've been doing. I want to continue to make a good name for my, keep a good name for myself that I've worked hard to make over years. I want to continue to help the fighters that come in that really want to fight and really want to put in the work. I want to continue to help them develop so they can reach their best potential. As a fighter, as a trainer, we have hundreds of thousands, however many of it is, to do what we want to do with people. As a fighter, you only have one. So I always even if it's not with me, I want to see that kid get the most out of his career. If you can tell that it's something they really want to do, that's what you want to do. And I think, I don't think so. I know that we have, even the kids we have that haven't made it to the level of a world title, things like that, we've had a good positive effect on so many guys and girls over the years, because I've had so many come back to me over the years and thank us for where we've had people bring their own kids to us that we trained when they were young, and things like that. So, you just want to continue to put in that work in this gym and stay humble and always remember, look, no matter what we do, and Regis put it right in his fight too, in the press conference. You say you're only as good as your last fight, and that really goes for trainers too. We can have all these guys winning all kinds of fights, and then hey, you have one off fight, everybody's ready to throw you under the bus, right? But that's the nature of the game. So I just want to come in here every day in the gym, continue to work with all the fighters, get on the road, work with the fighters out there. Like I said, for me, it's a blessing every day. I get to do exactly what I want to do every day. And I don't know how many people get to say that.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for interviewing with me, and I will catch up with you later. This is Aaron Navarro and Jiffy Morales, and we are signing off.